Hello and welcome to this video on taxation and government spending. G and T. But we're not talking about gin and tonic here, we're talking about G for government spending and T for taxation. These are often controversial issues within an economy. Why should I work if all my money goes on taxes? But at the same time I think it's very important that the government provide public services. Do any of you pay tax? Of course you do. You all pay value added tax or VAT when you buy most things from shops. So in this video we're going to look at what is meant by taxation, what is meant by government spending, and the impact these things can have on businesses. So taxation and government spending decisions are made by these people. And this chart here shows us recent examples of the government finances. The yellow on the left hand side shows you how much they receive in tax. So the government received £648 billion in tax, and then on the right hand side in blue shows you how much they spent. They spent £732 billion. Let's have a look where the tax comes from. Well, we can see a large proportion is from income tax, and then we've got VAT, we've got national insurance contributions, and then some other taxes and things like corporation tax. What do the government spend their money on? Well, things down here called social protection, like pensions and welfare payments. Things here like the NHS. Things here like education. And you can see there's a slight gap between how much they spent and how much they received in this year. The gap here was £84 billion, and they borrow that money from other people, and that is called the government's budget deficit, which you may have heard of in the news. So let's get on and look at what is meant by taxation. So taxation is the process of imposing charges on businesses and individuals by the government. Let's take that definition down. If we have a look at the types of taxes the government charge individuals and businesses, this chart shows us the proportion of the percentage of where their tax revenue comes from. So the largest proportion is from income tax, and then we have national insurance, value added tax, corporation tax. Now that is the tax that is charged to businesses' profits. But there are other things like fuel duties, taxes on fuel, business rates that businesses have to pay, stamp duty, tobacco tax, vehicle excise duties, beer and cider duties, inheritance tax, wine duties, customs duty, insurance premium, blah 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 blah, air passenger duty, betting landfill, and so on and so on. So there's a real variety of taxes and charges that the government apply to individuals. We can break them down into two main types of taxation. The first one is direct taxation. Those are taxes that are applied to people's incomes or wealth or profit. It is applied directly, so it is very difficult to avoid it through your choices. So examples would include income tax, national insurance contributions, corporation tax. You have no choice. If you earn a certain amount, you pay income tax. If a business makes profit, it pays corporation tax. The other type of taxes are indirect taxes, and those are applied when you spend money on a particular good or service. So you can pay less perhaps by not buying that particular product or service. There is an element of choice involved. Some examples would be VAT or taxes on fuel and alcohol. If you don't buy any fuel, you avoid paying this tax. So it's kind of indirectly applied. Okay. Let's take those down and then move on. So what might be the effect on business of taxation? Well, really it depends on the type of tax. A cut in income tax may give consumers more disposable income, and so they might spend more, seeing an increase in revenue and profit. However, if income tax is raised, this may discourage spending, and the opposite may occur. A cut in corporation tax may increase the firm's profits, which may enable them to make more investments in their own business. Changes to VAT will affect the prices to consumers and also sometimes the costs to a business. Now let's go on and look at what is meant by government spending. Government spending is the expenditure by the government supplying goods and service to achieve economic and political objectives. And there are three main areas of spending that a government do. The first one is transfer payments, and these are welfare payments made to benefit recipients such as the state pension or the job seekers allowance. So it's money transferred to people who then go and spend it in the economy. The second category of spending is what's known as current spending, and that's spending on goods and services that the government provide, such as education and health, and you may be able to think of some other ones as well. And the last type of spending is on capital spending, improving the infrastructure of the country, such as roads, hospital buildings, motorways, and prisons. If we have a look at what the governments typically spend their money on, we can see most of it is on social protection, mainly transfer payments, but then we have health, education, defence, the armed services, and so on, public order and safety like the police and the courts, debts on their existing debts that the government owe, it's quite interesting, housing, social services, transport, and other categories as well. So what's going to be the effect on business of this spending? Well, spending on infrastructure, road repairs, will help generate employment if you're the business that is providing or doing the repairs, but also maybe just improve the general infrastructure, making business easier for businesses that use those roads maybe to transport goods. Transfer payments will affect the level of disposable income amongst the people who receive that money, and that income may turn into revenue for businesses. Pay rates to public sector workers will affect the level of disposable income amongst recipients, for example teachers and nurses. And budgets allocated to public sector organisations, for example the NHS or the schools, if the school has a higher budget and is now buying the latest whizzy computers, then that might affect demand if you're a business that supplies those products.